Alright, we're going to use the midpoint of a segment in order to find a missing length. So the first thing that we're going to look at is, what is a midpoint? The midpoint of a segment is a point that divides the segment into two congruent, same size, that's what congruent means, segments. A line, ray, or segment that intersects a segment at its midpoint is said to bisect the segment. And so therefore it's called a segment bisector. So just a reminder, a line, that's going to have a symbol that looks like that. Ray is going to have a symbol, has an endpoint, and then continues on. And then line segment is just going to have your line. So a line, a ray, or a segment that intersects a segment at its midpoint is said to bisect. Remember, bisect, like bicycle, two parts, two equal parts. So it's called a segment bisector. So now we're going to take a look at a segment bisector. If we look at this diagram, B is our midpoint. And it is the midpoint of line segment AC. And it is the midpoint of line L. I'm sorry, it's not the midpoint of line L. B is the midpoint of line segment AC. Line L is a segment bisector of line segment AC. Because that is true, AB is congruent to BC, so they would be the same length. Now, if we use that information, we can find the lengths of the line segments. We can also find the lengths of the two line segments that are congruent. So let's use that information to find X. So we know that Q is the midpoint, which means PQ is going to be congruent to QR. So we're going to go ahead and set up that equation. When we set up the equation, a hint here, look at your X values. Whichever X value is larger, start with that side. So we're going to have 7X minus 16 is equal to 4X plus 2. Are all the variables on the left? They're not. So we're going to zero pair the 4X, which is going to give us 3X minus 16 equals 2. Keeping our equal signs lined up, we're going to now zero pair the 16, and we're going to have 3X is equal to 18. Divide by 3, divide by 3, X is equal to 6. Now I want to do a check. I want to see if the value of 6 actually gives us two congruent line segments. 7x minus 16. I'm going to use my substitution property and put in 6 where x is. That's going to give me 42 minus 16, which tells me that PQ is equal to 26. 4x plus 2. I'm going to use my substitution property to put in my 6 for x. 4 times 6 is 24 plus 2. So QR is equal to 26. Now, if I wanted to know how long PR was, all I would need to do is add, let's see, I think we're going to pull this down a little bit so we have more room. PR is equal to PQ plus QR. PQ is 26. QR is 26. So PR is going to equal 52. So you can see how just knowing that a point is a midpoint, you're able to find a number of different missing measurements. All right, let's look at this one. We have G is the midpoint. So you're always going to mark the two congruent line segments. So if G is the midpoint, FG is going to be congruent to GH. Okay, again, I'm going to look at my two x terms, and I'm going to find the term that has the largest x value. So that's going to be 7x. So I'm going to start with that. 7x minus 12 is equal to 4x plus 3. Are all the variables on the left? They're not. So I'm going to zero pair the 4x, and I'm going to get 3x minus 12 is equal to 3. Zero pair out the negative 12. 3x is equal to 15. Divide by 3, divide by 3, x is equal to 5. Now, the question is asking us to find y. So we're looking at the length of FH. FH is 6y minus 2. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, what does FH equal? FH equals FG plus GH. So we're going to need to find the value of FG and the value of GH first. So we're going to have FG is equal to 4x plus 3. I'm going to use the substitution property to put 5 in for x. And that's going to give me 20 plus 3. 23 is the value of FG, so I can go ahead and put that in. Now I'm going to go ahead and find GH. So GH is equal to 7x minus 12. I'm going to use my substitution property, put in my 5 for my x. I'm going to have 35 minus 12, which is also going to give me 23, which would be correct because these two line segments are congruent, so these two values should be the same. Now I know that FH should equal 46. So what I'm going to do is come back over here and see what the equation for FH is. So the equation is 6y minus 2, found up here in the given, is going to equal 46. Zero pair the 2. 6y is equal to 48. Divide by 6, divide by 6, y is equal to 8. And now you know how to find the midpoint and how to use that midpoint to find missing lengths.